Hello, Janelle. How you doing? I've got your image up here in the frame. Cover looks fantastic. Really sharp. Good looking cover. Table of contents looks good. I have a couple of recommendations here. It seems like a lot of your spreads are kind of leaning towards the middle of the page. This one, the left-hand side of the page looks great, but the right-hand side, I think, is a little too close to the graphics on the left-hand side. So if this is your center line here, the page looks a little out of balance. And I think there's something we can do here really to fix that. Now I see that by placing my cursor here, I see that that's a natural grid line. So that's fantastic. And the nice thing, the nice thing is you're following the grid, so your pages are really sound mechanically. They have good harmony. But for instance, this page here, again, we just seem to have everything kind of jumbled around the middle of the page. Then over here, same thing, kind of jumbled. The text is a little bit forced too much to the center of the center line of the page. For that reason, I'm going to go to this grid line right here and suggest that you take this text block and place it in that grid line. I think that'll add a nice little harmony to the page in terms of balancing the page out a little bit. I think this page looks fantastic. This page looks great too, and that's another thing that you can do to kind of rectify that situation. Is you can push your images to the crossing of the center line as well. That's another really interesting technique. This is very interesting right here. I think the way that center image, that top image spans the page. Okay, over here, again, everything's kind of jumbled around. So again, I would move that text block to the outer side of your grid assembly. Try it, see what you think. These look good. You know, this is the only text block on the left-hand side of the spread. So right now, again, it just seems like everything is kind of hovering around the center of the page. For that reason, what I would do is I would take that center line and I would take the whole composition and move them a little to the left. So this, for example, would align with that text block right there. Whoops, wrong page. This, where did that go? Right, that text block right there. Okay. And that'll create a really nice rhythm with this page as well and balance it out as well. Then what I would do is I would take this margin right here, the size of this margin, duplicate it over here, then move that accordingly. Okay. Now, one thing I do want to mention is that a lot of students have varying placement in their grids. With their text block and their headlines. And I think yours is good, though it's moving horizontally. It's fine because that just is accommodating the different lengths of your type. So I think that makes a lot of sense as long as you're vertically, you're completely lined up on every page. So that's fantastic. But I can see that. Look at this is so consistent right here. This placement right here, your grid line right here. So if I place my cursor right there, it doesn't matter. I go through the presentation and something's always aligning with that part of the grid. So it's definitely showing you're really, really solid on your grid. So that would be my only recommendation is that honestly, my only recommendation is that you're really, really hovering towards the center of the page in a lot of areas. For example, this image right here could clearly be moved over here a little bit. And that brings me to the cover, or actually not the cover, but table of contents. So in the table of contents, I think we can do something very interesting here. Now we know in design that placing something in the center of the page is not always the most interesting thing that we can do. So what I would do is this. I think, again, the table of contents is pushing towards the center line a little bit. So we come down here, we find a next natural grid line, which is right here. Then we move back up, and why don't we go ahead and assemble the table of contents accordingly. Move your headline over. Okay, it'll give a nice little area right here. Then what I would do is I would offset the logo itself and place it something like that. Okay, page looks great. Typography looks fantastic. I think there's a couple of areas where your rags are a little uneven. Right here, you don't want any kind of wavy patterns with your rags like that right there. You would want to even that out. This looks good as far as your rags. Long, short, long, short, long, short, without any kind of, without really noticing. And that's how your rags should be. It should be long line, short line, long line, short line. Not like this, but, like this. So that it's not noticeable. These look great. Typography looks fantastic. Love the type size. So many students are afraid to use smaller type, and I think it's just gorgeous. It really is. It's really, really holding the page together in terms of typographic color and its association with the images. So good job there. Yeah, type is really strong. That line's really short right there, but yeah, you got that. You might want to try to adjust that right there. That space right there is really unusual. Again, this image here could be pulled out a little bit. Just follow your next natural grid line. This is just begging for a live setting. Just begging for it. I would definitely find a live image. I know you mentioned that you're having some issues in struggling with your live mock-up settings, but boy, that's going to bring this home. It really is. I know it. Like these live settings here just look fantastic. So if we can duplicate those, yeah, event tickets look really good. Again, you could move those over a little bit to one of the next grid lines. This page looks really good. One thing I'm noticing about this page right here, though, is that you're consistently using a pretty consistent width for your text blocks. But then we get to this page and it's really super long. So a good fix here would be to move this banner up, either align it or find one of the next natural grid lines, move that up. Then you can move your environment, move your type up, and then you can decrease the size of the width of that type block right there, that text block. All right, I'm loving it. I think you're looking just fantastic. Okay, those would be my recommendations. I think that you're well on your way, though. This is really a gorgeous, wonderful, just wonderful use of white space. And that's refreshing, very, very much so. All right. Okay. Any questions, comments, or other? Janelle, please let me know. Great job. Thank you.